In this video, we're going to have a look at what Firebase authentication actually is and some of its benefits, and how to actually set it up ourselves in a React project. But what actually is Firebase Auth? Well, Firebase authentication provides a simple way to manage users, signups, logins, and logouts. Now, most apps need to know the identity of a user. Knowing a user's identity allows an app to securely save user data in the cloud and provide the same personalized experience across all of the user devices. So for us, that's going to be with Firestore and Firebase. So we've already set up our database. We've already set up our Firebase account. We can now also set up a layer of authentication on top of that to access that information, and we can manage the user data as well. It also allows you to integrate with other providers like Google, Facebook, and X to authenticate with their services as well. Very clever, very quick, and I'll show you how to set that up just now. So let's go ahead and set up our Firebase Auth on our React project. So if we go to our Firebase console here and we go back to the homepage, I will choose our project, which was Firebase project. And then over here where it says authentication, we'll select that. And then we'll click the Get Started button up here. Now we are going to use the email password option to log in. So we'll click that and we'll click Enable and then we'll click Save. And once we've done that, we're all good to go. Let's hop into our Visual Studio Code and start editing. So this is where we last left off, where we were doing a check to see if we could make some small amendments and read the collection of test collection from Firestore. So what we're going to do is we're just going to tidy some of this up. So first thing here is we're going to just add our auth here by using the get auth method from Firebase Auth. And then just under here, we'll import it. So we'll import get auth from Firebase /auth. And that should bring in the authentication from the app. And then further down here, we want to set some state. So currently we're setting the name, which is fine, but we also want to set the email and password, and that's the password there. And then we also want to set the user. And then just below here, so we want to start adding some methods for actually signing up to the auth, because that's the first thing we want to do. So then what we'll do is we'll go add some HTML. So just down here, we'll do Firestore authentication. We'll delete that, and then we'll do a div, and we will add an input, and it'll be type text, placeholder, email, capital E, and then we'll do a value of the state of email, which is all the way up here on line 24, and then we'll do an on change. So we'll do an anonymous function, and we'll set email, and that is basically setting state. But to set the state, we need the value of the input. And the only way we're going to get that is from the event. So if we grab the event here, if we put the event specifically in here, and then do event target.value, we're essentially capturing the event when the on change happens, basically when you type into the input, and then it grabs the target and value of that input as you're typing it, so all the letters you're putting in. Okay, and then the next thing we want is an input. But we don't want input type text. We actually want input type password, which is a little bit different. It basically hides what you're putting in it, and like a normal password field does. And then we'll do placeholder password, and we'll do value is of state password, which is up here. And then very lastly, we're going to add some buttons. So we'll do button, and we'll do sign up, and we'll do on click, and we'll pass the event handler sign up, and we'll do another button here, and we'll do sign in, and we'll pass the on click handler of sign in, and then we'll create another button here of sign out, and we'll do an on click of log out, the capital because we're using camel case. And then just below here, we're going to use a conditional render of user. So we're checking to see if the user exists, and then we're going to use a double ampersand, which is the double. And what that does is it says it's very different to the question mark you've seen before for the ternary operator. which requires basically a condition here and then a true statement and a false statement here. What we're doing essentially is we're just having one here by using the double ampersand. So we're saying if this is true, then just show this. So that is what we're going to do. And we're going to say div, oops. So we're going to say div p logged in as user.email. Okay. So if you're logged in, it will say you're logged in as this person. Alrighty. Right. Now that we've done that, what we need to do is actually add the event handlers. So we've got here sign up, sign in, log out. We actually need to add these here. So we'll do that now. So for sign up, it'll just be a arrow function and we'll create user with email and password. Now this is a method from Firebase Auth, as you can see here. It even tells us that in great detail from VS Code, which is brilliant. And it should have auto imported that for us. Yeah, it's already auto imported that, which is brilliant when you press enter on that. And because it's a method, we'll add parentheses. Then we're going to add auth, email, password. These are the details it needs. And then we're going to pipe it with a then. And we'll do enter, and then we'll do parentheses, and then we'll do user credential, and then we'll open it up as a function. And we'll set user here, which is basically setting state, user credential.user. And then we're just going to console.log user signed up. And then we're going to pass user credential.user, so the username. And we'll close that line off. And then we'll do a catch error here. So error console. Oops, we actually want to do console.error here, and we'll type in error signing up error. Okay, and we'll close that line. You can close this line as well, and that should be the sign up taken care of. Now let's make sure we also do the sign in. So we'll do const sign in, and we'll create a method of sign in with email and password. There we go, that's already there, and that should have added that automatically to the import as well at the top. If not, just make sure you add these as we go along. And just within here, we're going to add auth, email, password, and then pipe it with a then, because it's a promise. We need to do that. User credential set user credential dot user, then close this line off. And then we're just going to console log this as well. And basically we're just going to say the user has signed up, user credential user. Then here we're just going to do a catch error on the promise. We'll open this up, and then we'll just console log the error. So we'll do console.error, error signing up, a double colon, then a comma, and then we'll add the error that we're passing in from the catch error parameter there. And then we just close this here, and there we go. That's the sign in done as well. So sign up and sign in are done, and we just need to do the sign out bit. So we'll type in const log out in camel case as an arrow function, and we'll use sign out auth, which is a method from Firebase Auth, and then we'll just pipe it, go down so it's easier to read, and then we'll create another function here, and we'll set the user to null once they've signed out, and then we just need to console log the fact that the user has signed out, and then we'll just add a catch here for the error, and we'll console log the error here once they've signed out, as we have done before. Okay. So that's sign in, sign up, and sign out all sorted. And that means that these event handlers here for on click, when you click the button, should all be taken care of. Okay, let's go take a look. Okay, so if we go to this page here, we can see it just probably needs a little bit of styling, but we're not too bothered about that now. Let's just see if this works. So we'll sign up with an email. We'll do harry.ashton@learnfrontendnow.com, and we'll put the password as password 123. Now nothing is being typed into this currently, so I am assuming there's something wrong with the password field, probably to do with the state. So let's go to the input of password, value of password. Right, so there's currently no on change event for password, so we need to make sure we add that, because otherwise we're not actually logging the state of this. So we'll do on change, and then we'll pass event with a function. Oh, we don't need to add the brackets because it's a one-liner. So set password, and we'll pass event target value, like basically just the same as before, but the set state is different. Okay, so let's go back here and choose a password. So I'll put password123 with a capital P, and then I'll click sign up. So it went ahead and it did the sign up process for us. So you can see here, user has signed up, and then it's returned us a stack trace and an object with all the successful information. So this is our access token, which essentially is for our session for whilst we're logged in. And it's telling us how we're logged in great detail, what browser we're using. So we're using Opera, and some other information about my session. It gives me my email address, whether it's verified or not, whether it's anonymous. It gives me some metadata, so when it was created, last login, some really useful information for troubleshooting and just checking user activity. And then it gives me some information about the user here as well, about the provider we're using, because we're using email password. It's telling us that that's what we're using. And then just giving me my unique ID for this user, a UID. So a lot of amazing information, and even more information here that I can use even if I wanted to in the UI, which I have done here. So logged in as Harry Ashton. So I've pulled this from Firebase, this information here, and used it in React. Okay, so now we're signed in. Let's just try signing in again and see what happens. So I'll clear the console. So I'll click sign in. So it said user has signed up when I've clicked sign in. So let's see what's happened there. So sign in, that should be correct. And sign in with email password. And it seems the console log is wrong. It should say user has logged in, error logging in. Okay. And I mean, we guess we can keep it consistent. So we'll put user signed in, and you can change these to whatever you want. Error signing out. Okay, so let's try that again. So let's click sign in again, and it says user has signed in, and that's brilliant. All right, now what we want to do is sign out, and we've got an error. So it says sign out is not defined. Interesting. So on line 76 space 5, or character 5, so line 76 character 5, sign out is not defined. So, oh, okay, right, we haven't imported sign out, so we'll do that now. So now we've imported sign out from Firebase Auth. Let's refresh that. Let's log in again. So harry.ashton learnfrontendnow.com. We'll use the same password as before. I'll click sign in, and then I'll click sign out. And there we go. That's signed us out. That's also removed the text here. And if I put in the incorrect password details and try to sign in again, it gives us an error. And we can see that that has been unsuccessful, which is brilliant, which is what we want. And then if I put in the correct password, password123 with a capital P, it then logs me in. So we can see that very quickly we've added an authentication system for our website. So for example, if you're creating a dashboard project, you could very quickly go to Firebase and set up a project, go to the authentication section and set an email password authentication up. And there you go. Very quickly, you can just add some of these methods to your project. Like, I mean, how many lines did this take? Add a little bit of HTML and you've got authentication. So you can log in, and when you log in, you can basically go to the dashboard page or something like that. You can redirect them with a React router and send them off to the dashboard page. So there's lots of cool things you can do. You can hide things in conditionals. So for example, we've got sign up, sign in, sign out. So we don't want the sign up button and the sign in button to show if the user is logged in. So if we do this and we go and, okay, and I'm going to show you something now. So when you have an error like this in a conditional, it's because something like this needs a React fragment to wrap two or more elements. When you have just one element in a conditional with just one parent, then it's fine. But when you have two siblings sharing the same space, you actually need to add a React fragment, which is just empty divs like this or empty elements, and then it's happy. And that's just how React is. It doesn't like the fact that you've got two siblings and no parent for them. So it wants you to make sure that you've got a wrapping div for them, which is what this basically boils down to. So again, this is a React fragment, and the shorthand for it is just deleting that so they're empty. Okay, so what we have now is if the user is logged in, then it's going to show this, which is incorrect. We don't actually want that to be the case. So to invert this check, because we want it to be the opposite, we just add an exclamation point. And what that does is that reverses the check. So if the user is not logged in, it's then going to show the sign up button and the sign in button. So if I go here and refresh this, right, and we'll just restart the server just for this, hide this again, refresh. So we can see here that we've set this logic here, but it's still, so we can see here that we've set the logic here to check to see whether a user is signed up or not, but it hasn't changed here. And that is because we haven't done a check when we load the page. So I'm just going to delete this code for now, this use effect, and we're going to replace it with a new use effect. By the way, you can have multiple use effects on a page. It should be fine, but generally you're trying to want to keep it down as low as possible. Okay, so we're going to add a new use effect here. So we'll add a use effect and we'll call it unsubscribe. So we're checking on auth state whether it's changed, and that's auto imported it, and we're checking the auth and we're checking the current user, and if current user is true, then we set user to current user. Now else we set user to null. So this is user is signed out, user is signed in, and this checks the user's authentication state when the app loads. Okay, and then we just want to add the state for that down here. There we go. And then just down here, going to return the unsubscribe function once this runs. Okay, let's refresh this. So we're currently logged in and we can see that the other buttons have been hidden, but we've still got the input, the login, and we've got the email and password input still showing. So let's hide that as well. So let's include these in here. So we'll take that out of here and put that up here and refresh that. And there we go. We can see we've just got the sign out button. So let's click sign out and see what happens. So when we click sign out, we can see all of the other bits of UI reappear, which is correct. But we don't actually need the sign out button because we're not logged in anymore. So we should probably hide that. So we'll grab this and we'll just put this below the logged in as. Okay, and now the sign up button is gone. Let's try logging in and we'll put in our password and we'll click sign in. And there we go. Firestore authentication, logged in as Harry Ashton, learnfrontendnow.com, and we have the sign out button. Amazing. And we can actually go check this in Firebase right now. And we go, if we go to authentication here, we can then see that I've actually created a user. It tells me when I've created it, what the providers are. So if I used Google or something else, it would show that here. It shows what my unique ID is, and I can reset the password, disable the account, delete the account, and do all kinds of things. I can even add users here as well. So Firebase authentication is a really fast, really easy way to add authentication to your app. You have so much control on all of this for free. So if you're not already building as we're going along, after this video, maybe try it out. Maybe try adding Firebase authentication to your project as well. And this even works if you publish this as well. So we'll go back here, we'll open this up and we'll commit this to Vercel. So I'll clear this and I'll put git add, and I'll say adds Firebase auth, and then we'll push that up and we'll go to Vercel and we'll check out the Firestore tutorial, which is where we added this. We'll go to deployments and we can see that this is currently deploying right now. It's on 16 seconds. It probably should be done any moment now. And that is done. So we'll go back to the project and I'll click this link here, Firestore tutorial Vercel app. And there we go. That is the authentication page. I'll just make this a little bigger and I'll log in here as well, password as well. And then I'll click sign in and there we go. So you're able to really work locally on Firestore and Firebase and push it up to Vercel very, very quickly and have a working production ready authentication system. Now, Firebase has taken all the worry of security out of your hands and has looked after it for you through this process. So in essence, you do have a production ready authentication system ready to go and for free. So that has been Firebase authentication.